So last time we were here, we talked about designing the app icon, which wasn't anything like mind blowing. Mostly just the use of like a rectangle or a rounded rectangle and drawing inside your icon. We talked about like how tiny the icon is when you're looking at your home screen. So we can't get too complex with it. We want to keep it a little bit more simple. And we put the title down here. I don't remember if I mentioned this last time, but I was going to have you add like a 1 or 2 sentence description about what your app does. Doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. Just even if you're just going to tell me it's a streaming app for music where you could do X, Y, and Z. So this is where your description will go. And I don't really have a preference on a font as long as it's just something I could read. So that will be step number 1 over there. Now, at this point, I would say I'll see you 4 class periods this week. I'd spend like at least 2 days on one screen and then at least 2 days on another. If there's anything you can copy and paste from one screen to another, do it. Save the time, and it will make your project look a lot more uniform, which is great. So if you have the same bar and the same background on the back, you could shift click all this stuff you need, alt click and drag it over. If that's less work for you, that's very much encouraged. Okay. So that will work out really nicely. I find a lot of students are always like, oh, I have such a hard time like fitting the boxes perfectly into one another. So perhaps let's say I want this orange bar at like the top of my screen for some reason. Maybe this is like part of the browser here. But obviously it's really difficult to match this orange bar to be exactly the same size as the blue one. So if I select both the orange box and the blue box, there's a way that I can like make this excess into like its own shape. Do you remember what tool we used for that? It's in the toolbox. It was this little snowman on the side called the shape builder. So if I hover over this, it kind of demos it. I just make sure everything's selected and I'll draw through the area and I'll be able to select it differently. So you can see now when I use the shape builder, everything's selected, and I'm going to select this outside shape I don't want. Click off of everything with my black arrow. And now when I select that outside area, voila, it got rid of it, which was really nice. I'm going to do it one more time, but I'm going to change the color because I know this is hard for you to see because the selection was different. So let's make it brown for now. Now you can see it a little better. So I use my shift key to select both my blue and my brown area. Take my shape builder, and I'm going to click on the excess area I don't want. Use my black arrow to just select the background, like to deselect the area. And then I click on the area I don't want, and I can delete it, and that stuff goes away really nice and neatly. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay. Another nice option, especially we talked about like a lot of people said they didn't like white as in an app. They said it was just like too much on the eyes. You may want to go with like much lighter versions. So you may want to lighten the opacity on a color. So this blue is a lot. So maybe I want to end up using like a really light opacity of a color. I know you're probably like, oh, but the scan's behind it and that's ugly. What are we going to do with the scan at the end? Do we keep the scan? No, we hide it, right? So at the end, all that stuff will be hidden anyway. So that's a nice option if you're interested. You don't have to do it, but it's there for you. Okay. I want to talk about also importing a picture. Copying and pasting isn't always the best plan because Illustrator isn't really like a photo-based document. So we use a topic called place in order to import a picture. So it's actually a picture of my friend's house, and I'm going to import it. I'll put it over here for you. So the picture is already saved to my desktop here. I'm going to go to File, Place, and I had saved it to my desktop. So here it is. And it's going to pop up on my mouse. It's kind of like attached to it. And I know it looks really small right now. But once you click it and you literally place it, it blows it up. So you may also say like, oh, I don't want all this excess stuff. You have the option to crop it at the top here, which is really nice. So it will give you this dotted box and you can adjust the lines like that. You could say, I don't need to see all that excess. And when you're happy, you can hit apply or enter, whatever makes you happy. And then you can continue to shrink it down. So I'll put that picture like right here. So that's the best way to save the quality of your photo, and also that like next time you open the document that it's there and it hasn't disappeared or it looks kind of garbagey. Okay. Do you have any questions so far? Okay, cool. That puts us in a pretty good spot. I don't have a lot more to show you content wise as you're building your project. And don't forget, you've got your project outline here with lots of examples on it. You can see what some of the other nicely done projects were. But the key is that we're definitely hiding the scan at the end so we don't see any of those elements there. Okay. Any questions so far? Okie doke, sound good.